The birth of John the Baptist. In the days of Herod, king of Judea, there lived a faithful priest named Zechariah, who served in the temple of the Lord. His wife was Elizabeth, and she too came from a priestly family, descended from Aaron. They were both righteous in the eyes of God, following all his commandments and walking in his ways with pure hearts. Yet despite their devotion and prayers, Elizabeth had never been able to bear a child. As the years passed, both she and Zechariah had grown old, carrying this quiet sorrow in their hearts while continuing to serve the Lord with unwavering faith. They had learned to find peace in their daily rituals and in their deep love for one another. One peaceful morning, as the golden light of dawn touched the temple walls, it was Zechariah's turn to enter the sanctuary and burn incense. The sweet-scented smoke rose in delicate spirals toward the heavens as he performed this sacred duty, his movements careful and reverent in the holy silence. In that hushed moment, something extraordinary occurred. An angel of the Lord appeared, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. The heavenly presence filled the sanctuary with a soft, ethereal light that seemed to pulse gently like a heartbeat. Zechariah felt fear flutter in his chest, but the angel's presence brought with it a profound sense of peace. The angel spoke with a voice like flowing water, gentle yet clear. "Fear not, Zechariah, for your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you shall call his name John. He will bring you joy and gladness, and many will rejoice at his birth." The angel's words continued to flow like honey, speaking of the wonderful future that awaited this promised child. He will be great before the Lord. He must not drink wine or strong drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even from his mother's womb. He will turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God. Zechariah stood in the sacred stillness, his mind trying to comprehend these amazing words. The soft glow of the incense lamp cast dancing shadows on the temple walls as he gathered his thoughts. After so many years of waiting, after accepting that his dreams of fatherhood would remain unfulfilled, this news seemed too wonderful to believe. With trembling voice, shaped by years of faithful service and honest questioning, Zechariah spoke to the angel. "How can I be certain of this? For I am an old man, and my wife is advanced in years." The words floated in the fragrant air between them, a simple expression of his human doubt in the face of divine promise. The angel's response came with gentle firmness, like a father teaching a beloved child. "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God, and I was sent to speak to you and to bring you this good news, because you did not believe my words, which will be fulfilled in their time. You will be silent and unable to speak until the day these things take place." Outside the temple, the people waited in the courtyard, wondering at Zechariah's delayed return. The morning sun climbed higher in the sky, warming the ancient stones as they waited with growing concern. When Zechariah finally emerged, they could see that something profound had occurred. His face bore an expression of wonder and awe, but when he tried to speak, no words came forth. Through gestures and writing, Zechariah conveyed that he had seen a vision in the temple. The people understood that something sacred had transpired, though they could not know the full magnitude of what was beginning to unfold. With quiet reverence, they watched as Zechariah completed his duties and prepared to return home. In the days that followed, Elizabeth conceived, just as the angel had foretold. She kept herself in seclusion for 5 months, treasuring this precious secret and marveling at how the Lord had blessed her. The quiet joy in her heart grew alongside the new life within her. In the gentle privacy of their home, Elizabeth spent her days in peaceful contemplation. "The Lord has done this for me," she would think as she rested her hands upon her growing belly. "In these days he has shown his favor and taken away my disgrace among the people." Her quiet joy filled their home like sunshine through morning mist. During these precious months, Zechariah remained silent, yet his eyes spoke volumes of love and wonder. He would sit beside Elizabeth in the cool of the evening, writing his thoughts on tablets and sharing in her quiet happiness. Their home became a sanctuary of peaceful anticipation, filled with unspoken prayers and silent songs of gratitude. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, their quiet world expanded to embrace another miracle. Their young relative Mary arrived, carrying her own divine secret. As Mary's greeting reached Elizabeth's ears, the baby within her leaped with joy, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. The moment was like a soft breeze stirring the leaves of a great tree, gentle yet profound in its significance. Elizabeth's joy spilled over in words of blessing, her voice warm with love and understanding. "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the child you will bear. How wonderful that the mother of my Lord should come to me. The baby in my womb leaped for joy at the sound of your greeting. Blessed is she who has believed that the Lord would fulfill his promises to her." For 3 months, these two women shared their miraculous journeys. Their days were filled with quiet conversations and shared prayers. Their evenings with peaceful contemplation of the great things God was doing through their lives. Their home became a haven of divine anticipation, where heaven seemed to touch earth in the most gentle of ways. As Elizabeth's time drew near, the air seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. The promised moment approached like the gradual brightening of dawn. When the time came for Elizabeth to give birth, the summer air was sweet with the scent of blooming flowers. Their neighbors and relatives gathered close, sharing in the joy of this long-awaited miracle. The sound of quiet celebration filled their home as a healthy son was born, exactly as Gabriel had foretold in the temple those many months ago. On the 8th day, following the ancient customs of their people, the time came for the child to be circumcised. The gathered family and friends, their voices soft with tradition and expectation, naturally assumed the boy would be named Zechariah after his father. But Elizabeth, her voice gentle yet certain, spoke up. "No, he is to be called John." The assembled guests turned to one another in gentle confusion, their whispered words like rustling leaves. "But there is no one among your relatives who has that name," they said to Elizabeth. Their puzzlement was kind, born of respect for tradition and family ties. They turned to Zechariah, still silent these many months, gesturing to ask what he would have the child called. In the peaceful hush that fell over the gathering, Zechariah asked for a writing tablet. With careful strokes, he wrote words that would fulfill the angel's prophecy. His name is John. In that moment, as the assembled guests watched in wonder, Zechariah's tongue was freed, and his first words in 9 months were words of praise to God. Like a spring suddenly released, joy and gratitude flowed from his heart. The fear of God fell upon all their neighbors, and throughout the hill country of Judea, people spoke in hushed, amazed tones about these events. All who heard this story pondered it in their hearts, wondering, what then will this child be? For surely the hand of the Lord was with him. Zechariah, filled with the Holy Spirit, spoke words of prophecy over his son, his voice tender with fatherly love and divine wisdom. The morning sun streamed through the windows as he cradled the small child, speaking of the great purpose that lay ahead. You, my child, will be called a prophet of the Most High, for you will go before the Lord to prepare his ways. You will give his people the knowledge of salvation through the forgiveness of their sins. Because of God's tender mercy, the morning light from heaven is about to break upon us, to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. The child John grew and became strong in spirit. As the seasons turned, he developed a quiet strength that came from deep within. The wilderness called to him, speaking to his soul of solitude and preparation. There he remained until the day of his public appearance to Israel, learning the ways of God in the peaceful solitude of nature. As we rest here in the quiet of evening, let us ponder the gentle truths this story brings to our hearts. Like Elizabeth and Zechariah, we are reminded that God works in his own perfect timing. Even in the silence of waiting, even when our prayers seem to go unanswered, divine purpose unfolds like a flower slowly opening its petals to the morning sun. Their story teaches us that doubt can exist alongside faith, that questions need not diminish our trust in God's promises. Zechariah's months of silence became a time of deep reflection and growing certainty, showing us how God can use our limitations to deepen our understanding.